Hello and welcome to another DailyJim. Today is Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. Today I want to talk about war and peace. So, actually, what is the opposite of war? Is it really peace? I think about a lot of the wars that are happening in the world right now. There are wars on different levels happening, I believe, in Ethiopia, in Sudan, in Israel, Gaza, in Ukraine, in quite a few other parts of the world. Those are kind of active physical wars, I would say. And then there are wars happening more on the emotional front in many other places, if we can call them wars. But when we think about it, I think a lot of times we assume the opposite to war is peace, peace building, peace activist. All these different things about how to, Nobel Peace Prize. What we're trying to do is bring about peace. And I'm really wondering, what do we mean by peace? And I think a lot of times when we talk about peace, we actually mean, like people say, calmness, quiet, tranquility. There seems to be a sense of stillness, and just kind of, quiet. Just soft and just steady, as the opposite of war. But it actually reminds me of the talk that Elie Wiesel gave at the White House many years ago. If you're not familiar with him, he wrote a book called Night. He was a survivor of the Holocaust and later became a professor. And he talks about the opposite of love is not hate, but is indifference. And so when I think of this indifference, I wonder if a lot of us are actually striving for almost like an indifferent peace. Not a loving peace, but an indifferent peace where we coexist with other people, we tolerate them, but we don't actually interact with them much. And we don't really think that they're on our team, but they're not our enemies. They're just kind of there. And I don't know if everyone desires that type of peace, but I think a lot of us seem to strive for it. I think a lot of the conversations about peace that I hear are not about how do we bring people together, how do we get Israelis and Palestinians to love each other and to believe that they're on the same team, to feel united. It's more of like, okay, how do we give them two states so that they can coexist with each other and that they basically just don't have to interact with each other whatsoever? When it comes to Ukraine and Russia, how do we have these two states, again, that just let them be neighbors that just don't talk to each other? So, but peacefully don't talk to each other. In other words, absence of war. And I try to take that down to a really, I think war can be the most extreme examples of this, but taking it down to simple conflicts in our lives. And this whole phrase, which I really don't like very much, agree to disagree. It's like, I'm going to stand here, you're going to stand there, and we both just kind of, let's not talk about it again. Let's just stop talking. Let's just end the conversation. We're never going to come together on this, so therefore let's not even try to be united. Let's just be different, and let's just be distant, not attacking each other, but just walking away from each other. And I think a lot of our drive for peace actually is that. Because I think a lot of times in society, that's how we think we resolve conflict. We think that there's only two ways to deal with conflict, primarily, I think. One is we punch each other and we actively aggress against each other, or we avoid each other. So we either escalate conflict or we avoid it. And I just don't think that's the answer. And I think a lot of times when people see war, okay, people are fighting, we just need to stop the fighting. And start what? I know I've done an episode on this before. Start what? It's not called the Peaceful States of America. It's called the United States of America. How do we get back on the same team? How do we get back to having closeness with each other? I mean, maybe the first step is desiring closeness with each other. Desiring unity, desiring togetherness, desiring one team, desiring that connection, that bond, that attachment, instead of this apathetic, indifferent, you do you, I'll do me, we don't talk to each other, and then we'll just coexist and try to pretend that we're not all connected together anyways. So if you can't tell, I feel a little frustrated by, I think, our desires for peace when it has that undercurrent, or that, undercurrent, when it has an underlying message of almost, I'll go my way, you go your way, we'll do our own things, and we won't care about each other. We'll just move on and let go and not care. Because I see how much that doesn't seem to work on an interpersonal level, and I see how that seems to cause a lot of problems on the national and global level as well. So here's to hoping that we actually want unity, that we actually want to come together and get back on the same team so that we can solve problems together instead of trying to either fight against each other and compete to solve the problem, or solving the problems on our own without the collaboration of other human beings. So on that note, I hope the rain from the hitting the car roof was not too distracting, and I will talk with you all soon. Take care.